Geeks is known by many as the greatest SpongeBob episode of all time. Well, I wouldn't call it my absolute favorite. That goes to Snowball Effect.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that Geeks is a fantastic timeless SpongeBob episode. It's in my top 10 favorite episodes of the show. And almost everyone who has watched SpongeBob can agree on that. But do you know which type of people haven't watched this episode? Football people. Earlier this year on Super Bowl Sunday, there was supposed to be this event where the classic SpongeBob song from the episode Geeks called Sweet Victory was supposed to be played at the Super Bowl. If you haven't been paying attention, long story short, it was never played. But we did get to see SpongeBob and Squidward at the bowl doing a weird cheap flash animation effect to introduce sicko mode. When it didn't air, the internet got angry and were mad that what over 1 million people petitioned for didn't get played at the Super Bowl. But here's my question. Did we really need SpongeBob at the Super Bowl? So this review has three main things to talk about. The episode in and of itself, the Super Bowl, and the idea of SpongeBob getting a spin-off. Yes, SpongeBob is getting a spin-off. About the Bikini Bottomites and their adventures away from SpongeBob. So basically the episode gone, but as a series. Why is this happening? Because Nickelodeon wanted to make a spin-off all along for more money and nostalgia, and Steven Hilberg said no to the idea, and Nick figured that after he died, they would have the right to do it. I'm getting a little ahead of myself though. I don't have proof that's the truth, but who's to say that's not a good theory? I guess we should talk about the episode in and of itself first, which is probably the biggest reason why I didn't have an interest in this review. Sure, I love Geeks, but newsflash, do you know who else loves Geeks? Every single fucking person on the planet. I can't really come up with anything new to say for the episode. The only reason I am reviewing this specific episode is because of the Super Bowl. But that's not gonna stop me from trying. What I will say about this episode is that it feels like the perfect series finale to the show. Yes, even more than either SpongeBob movie and even more than the Broadway musical from last year. Which, keep in mind, I did see the musical and I think the musical is even better than either SpongeBob movie. Let's analyze why Geeks is so good. It starts off with Squidward playing music when he gets a call from his rival, Squiggly and Fancy Son, about his band playing at the Bubble Bowl. The problem is that he won't be able to play due to the fact that he's busy, so he hopes that Squidward's band can cover for him. And then Squidward lies saying that he does have a band. The problem is that the fish of Bikini Bottom suck at music. Like, really suck at music.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument. Horseradish is not an instrument either.
But even after 4 days of failure and Squidward giving up, they band together and help Squidward out and give the greatest performance at the Bubble Bowl in history. This episode means a lot to me because I grew up with this episode. This first aired in 2001, and I probably have watched this episode every single year of my life after that. And the funny thing is, it even isn't a holiday episode that you would expect to watch year after year, like a Christmas or a Halloween special. In fact, it was because of this episode that made me want to get into music. For 8 years of my life, I actually played the clarinet. I wasn't entirely good at it, but I did play for 8 years of my life, from 4th grade to 12th grade. Maybe the reason why I wanted to play music was because it sounded beautiful, or maybe because it would help me make brand new friends, or maybe it's because I just wanted to fight with other people with instruments.
There's a deposit on that equipment, people!
Sadly, I never fought with people via instruments. I guess if I wanted to do something like that, I would have to play the game Skullgirls and use the character Big Band. When I was in my high school marching band, many people that I was friends with told me that this was their favorite episode of SpongeBob. And keep in mind, this was 2011 when I joined marching band, precisely a decade after this episode first aired. One specific episode of SpongeBob was still talked about an entire decade after it first aired. How many random cartoon episodes from a random show can you remember from a decade ago? Not much. If there's one thing that I appreciate about Geeks watching as an older person now, is that I can recognize jokes that I couldn't figure out as a kid. Look at this joke.
Yeah, we're with the pet hospital down the street, and I understand you have a dying animal on the premises.
As a kid, I always thought that the doctors got the wrong house and meant to go to SpongeBob's help to help Nurse Gary. I mean, this was after the episode I Was a Teenage Gary, so it's not that far out of possibility. I always appreciated jokes like Patrick's mayonnaise or the Kick and Sandy joke, but some jokes that I started appreciating more were Plankton saying things like, do instruments a torture count? Here's a quick unpopular opinion on the episode. I like that joke more than the mayonnaise joke, probably because Plankton's joke isn't all over the place. Patrick's joke, in all honesty, is overplayed. And that's really all that I had to say for the episode. In context, that is. It's funny, it's brilliant, and the story is uplifting. Written by 3 of my favorite writers, C.H. Greenblatt, Aaron Springer, and Meriwether Williams. The creator of both Chowder and Harvey Beaks, Aaron worked on Gravity Falls, and Meriwether Williams worked on My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. If this was done like 17 years ago at, say, the 2002 Super Bowl, there would have been more leeway to include it into the bowl. Keep in mind, most things of animation aren't at the Super Bowl. Sure, you can get, like, back in 2015, the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic cameo, but keep in mind, that cameo didn't even last 5 seconds. But, I gotta be honest, I don't care about SpongeBob being at the Super Bowl. And I'm gonna give an obvious reason. Sports aren't about animation. Yeah, you can name some animations with sports in them, but that's not the point. I hate sports, but I love cartoons. And if someone else loves sports but hates cartoons, that's fine. That's their thing, not mine. I don't care if Maroon 5 or NFL or whoever at the halftime show don't care about SpongeBob. Do you know who I want to see care about SpongeBob? Nickelodeon. And Nick does care about SpongeBob. A lot. Sure, maybe it's because SpongeBob makes up 5% of Viacom's total revenue, whatever. But at least they respect SpongeBob. And if you want SpongeBob to be respected in some way of the public, well, there is. People have been enjoying the show for years. It's been at the Macy's Days Parade and countless of other locations. But more importantly, right now there is a reanimated remake in the process. So you have people caring about SpongeBob even after Hillenburg's death. Before I go though, I should talk about the spin-off. And actually, I don't. Why? Because I kind of already did. With Band Geeks, what about that episode tells me that you need a spin-off of SpongeBob? What could be done in a SpongeBob spin-off that can't already be done in SpongeBob? In all honesty, I don't see a SpongeBob spin-off working, or at the very least, not needed. Especially when SpongeBob in and of itself has episodes like Mulgur Pearl, Mermaid Man Begins, or Rise and Shine. It sounds like what Nickelodeon is trying to do is make SpongeBob without SpongeBob, which, newsflash, doesn't work. Planet Sheen was essentially Jimmy Neutron without Jimmy Neutron, and we all know how that worked out.
You are watching Planet Sheensy.
Okay, it's not called Planet Sheensy.
For a spin-off to work, it needs to bring in something new. I could talk about things like Friendship is Magic or She-Ra for good examples, but for now, let's stay focused on Nickelodeon. More specifically, Los Casagrandes. Okay, I love The Loud House, but that doesn't mean that I want a spin-off of The Loud House. For Los Casagrandes to work, it needs to do something different than The Loud House. That's my main point on the issue. At best, Los Casagrandes will give Ryan much more needed development into her character and give us a city environment as opposed to the suburbs. And yes, a city can give off potential. At worst, it'll be like the Cleveland Show being a useless spin-off while doing nothing new. People complain how SpongeBob Season 6 and 7 were bad, and then it bounced back to actually good quality after that, which makes you think, okay Nick, you have proven to me that you can still make SpongeBob good. You have made episodes just as good as Band Geeks since Band Geeks. Continue doing that. I don't want another SpongeBob. I'm going to continue loving SpongeBob, but that's all that I wish for Nick is to respect their other shows as much as SpongeBob. I wish for more good SpongeBob episodes, not a SpongeBob spin-off. As for continuing the show after Hillenburg's death, I say continue doing the show. As long as you can respect the show and continue making it good, you can keep making it. And Nick has proven to me that it can respect SpongeBob. Speaking of wishes, I think it's time that I make that YouTube wish list. Considering what my previous video was about and that there are many more YouTuber issues to deal with, I gotta make that video as soon as possible. By the way, the people who performed Sweet Victory, David, Glenn, Isley, and Bob Kulik, they're still alive for the record. And that's my review on Band Geeks, a classic episode that still holds up. Star Giant Productions out. Play me out, Sweet Victory!